Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're discovering how a 2,000-year-old Stoic training manual is literally the ultimate antidote to the chaos of modern life. We're talking about the wisdom of Epictetus, a man who was actually born a slave and rose to become one of the most influential philosophers in human history. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the world, or just frustrated by people and events you absolutely can't control, well, you are in exactly the right place. So let's get into it. Here's our roadmap to mastering your mind. We're breaking this down into 5 core sections: the ancient handbook, what you can control, the power of opinion, accepting the temporary, and finally, living the philosophy.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the ancient handbook.
So the word Enchiridion literally translates to handbook or manual. It was put together around 125 CE by a guy named Arrian, who was a fiercely dedicated student of Epictetus. Now, here's the thing. This text was never meant to be read once and just tossed on a bookshelf. It's not some abstract, airy philosophy meant for stuffy academic debate. No, this is a gritty, direct, everyday survival guide. It was designed to be kept close at hand, literally a tool to pull out when life just gets incredibly difficult. But before we even get to his core rules, Epictetus forces us to hit pause and asks a really uncomfortable question. He points out this huge, glaring contradiction in human behavior. Think about it. If someone were to physically hand over your body to a random stranger on the street, you'd be absolutely furious, right? Yet how easily do we surrender our mental peace to the outside world? We just hand our minds over to anyone who happens to hurl an insult our way, letting them leave us totally upset and flustered. Why on earth do we protect our physical bodies so fiercely, but leave our minds completely unguarded? Moving right along to Section 2, what you can control. Now, what we're looking at here forms the absolute bedrock of all Stoic teaching. It's called the dichotomy of control. Basically, the only things truly in our power are our internal choices. Our opinions, our drive towards something, our desires, and our aversions. That is literally it. Everything else, our physical body, our property, our reputation, our career, ultimately, that's just not in our control. We have to ruthlessly separate our internal choices from those external things we blindly waste so much energy agonizing over. And the crucial point Epictetus is making here is that confusing these two categories, that's the root cause of pretty much all human anxiety and frustration. Right there in verse 1, he says that if you treat external things, like your reputation or your bank account, as if they're entirely yours to control, you're treating things that are naturally slavish as if they are free. And when you do that, the text tells us exactly what's going to happen. You're going to be hindered, you will lament, you'll be deeply disturbed, and you'll end up blaming both gods and men when things inevitably go sideways. So the main takeaway from this foundational lesson is crystal clear. Master your internal choices and let go of the external outcomes. If you want true freedom, you've got to focus entirely on your own actions. You just have to gracefully accept that you cannot control the weather, the economy, what other people think of you, or even your own physical health in an absolute sense. But you know what? When you stop fighting reality and pour your energy only into your internal choices, you kind of become invincible because you're only fighting battles you actually have the power to win. Which brings us to Section 3, the power of opinion. This right here might just be the single most famous concept to come out of the Enchiridion. Verse 5 states, "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by their opinions about the things." Epictetus is bluntly pointing out that events themselves are completely neutral. Like, a flat tire is just a flat tire. A rainstorm is literally just water falling from the sky. It's the story we tell ourselves about the event, our opinion that this is a total disaster or terrible, that actually causes our emotional pain. And this brilliant insight applies directly to how we interact with others too. Verse 20 reminds us that whether it's an ancient insult being shouted in the Roman Forum, or just modern envy from scrolling through social media today, the mechanism is exactly the same. The external action doesn't actually hurt you. Your opinion that the action is insulting is what hurts you. Nobody can actually harm your mind unless you give them permission to do so by agreeing with their insult. So when someone tries to provoke you, it's really your own judgment of the situation doing the provoking. I actually want you to apply this directly to a recent frustration in your own life. Think about it. Where is your distress actually coming from? Think of the last time you were truly angry or anxious. Was it the physical reality of the event itself that harmed you, or was it the narrative running on a loop in your mind? When you learn to separate the bare facts from your judgments about those facts, you instantly reclaim your emotional equilibrium. Let's jump into Section 4, accepting the temporary. Once we take back control of our opinions, Epictetus offers this incredibly profound mental shift in verse 11. He says, "Never say about anything, 'I have lost it,' but say, 'I have restored it.'" This is a radical shift from ownership to stewardship. Whether it's our property, our loved ones, or even our own lives, we don't truly own them. They're just given to us for a time, and eventually they have to be returned. He compares our time with our possessions to travelers staying at an inn. Enjoy the comforts of the inn, take good care of it, sure, but don't pretend you own the building. Adopting this mindset really protects us from the absolute devastation of loss when our temporary circumstances inevitably change. And because things change and the world is super unpredictable, the handbook gives us a highly practical exercise for stepping out into it. To avoid disappointment, verse 4 tells us to literally mentally rehearse the chaos we're going to face. Step 1, intend to do the act. Step 2, deliberately visualize the splashing, the pushing, the shouting, and the thieves you might encounter at the bathhouse. Step 3, decide that you will maintain your inner peace regardless. To put that in today's terms, think of a miserable modern commute. Visualize the brutal traffic, the aggressive drivers, the endless delays. By expecting the world to be messy and difficult right out of the gate, you actually maintain your tranquility. Why? Because reality is no longer failing to meet your unrealistic expectations. You aren't totally shocked when someone cuts you off in traffic or when a massive project at work goes sideways because you've already anticipated the friction of reality. You've already prepared your mind to respond with reason instead of just pure reactivity. And now, our final section, Section 5, Living the Philosophy. So for our final section, the Enchiridion shifts gears to some rapid-fire rules for how you should actually conduct yourself in society. Verse 33 is pretty strict. Let silence be the general rule. Avoid vulgarity and trivial conversations about things like horse races or athletes. Abstain from excessive shouting and laughter. And don't constantly boast about your own accomplishments or the dangers you faced. These guidelines were designed to cultivate deep humility, making sure you don't waste your precious energy trying to show off, impress ignorant people, or get dragged into pointless drama. Instead, you conserve all that energy for your own internal character development. But hey, humility definitely doesn't mean hiding. Epictetus pairs this quiet humility with fierce integrity. In verse 35, he demands that if you've reasoned through a situation and you know an action is right, you absolutely must do it openly. Never avoid being seen doing the right thing just because the general public might form an unfavorable opinion about it. If you're acting rightly, you have literally nothing to fear from the unwarranted criticism of others. You just stand firm in your reasoned choices. As we wrap up the manual, Epictetus delivers this heavy, tough love wake-up call to stop procrastinating on your personal growth. Verse 51 captures this urgency perfectly. How long will you then still defer thinking yourself worthy of the best things? If you are negligent and slothful, you will continue ignorant both while you live and till you die. Ouch. He's reminding us that we aren't kids anymore. We are full-grown adults. There is no magical future date when it will suddenly be easier to be a good person. You don't have forever to become the person you want to be. As the text so vividly puts it, the Olympic Games of your life are happening right now. They cannot be deferred. The contest is today in every single small choice you make. It's in how you respond to an annoying email, and what you choose to desire, and how you treat your family. This is the whole shebang. You have to start applying these principles immediately. And that brings us to the ultimate question you have to answer for yourself. Will you continue to be enslaved by your unchecked opinions and the unpredictable external world? Or will you draw a line in the sand and take control of your own mind today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this deep dive into Epictetus's handbook has given you some practical tools for your own life. I'll leave you with this final challenge. Pick up these principles and start building a truly good, unshakable life today.